Patience is not passive weakness. It is an active demonstration of faith. When life becomes uncomfortable, uncertain, or even painful, the immediate human reaction is to resist, complain, or panic. But patience asks something far more refined from us. It asks us to pause internally and recognize that not every difficulty is a punishment. Many are carefully designed tests. A test, by its very nature, is meant to reveal something. In this case, it reveals the depth of our trust in Allah. Think about it psychologically. When everything is going your way, faith feels easy. Gratitude comes naturally when doors are open and prayers seem instantly answered. But the true measure of conviction appears when the situation is unclear, when the dua seems delayed, when the heart feels heavy. In those moments, patience becomes the language of belief. It quietly says, I may not understand this now, but I trust the one who does. Philosophically, patience reshapes how we interpret hardship. Instead of seeing difficulty as chaos, we begin to see it as purposeful friction, the kind that polishes character. Just as pressure turns coal into diamond, controlled trials refine the believer. Without patience, every setback feels like failure. With patience, every setback becomes formation. There is also a deep emotional intelligence in patience. It interrupts the cycle of reactive living. Most regret in life comes not from what happened to us, but from how we responded in moments of pressure. Patience creates space between stimulus and reaction. In that space lies wisdom, dignity, and spiritual growth. And perhaps the most comforting reality is this: Allah is fully aware of what you are carrying. Not a single silent struggle escapes His knowledge. Your patience in private moments, the ones nobody applauds, is often the most valuable in His sight. So when life tests you, don't rush to ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, ask yourself, what is this moment trying to grow within me? Because the believer who understands the purpose of patience doesn't just survive tests, they are elevated by them. One of the most powerful realities a believer can internalize is this: no difficulty is permanent. Human emotion has a tendency to magnify the present moment. When we are in pain, it feels endless. When doors are closed, it feels final. But divine wisdom reminds us of something profoundly stabilizing. Every hardship carries within it the seed of ease. Psychologically, this understanding changes how we experience struggle. When a person believes their pain has no end point, anxiety multiplies. The mind begins to catastrophize, to imagine worst-case scenarios, to lose emotional balance. But when the heart is anchored in the certainty that relief is part of the process, patience becomes easier to sustain. Hope regulates the nervous system. Faith calms the internal storm. Look at life carefully. Patterns repeat themselves. The night never defeats the dawn. Winter never cancels the arrival of spring. Similarly, in our personal lives, moments of tightness are often followed by unexpected openings. The promotion comes after the rejection. The clarity comes after the confusion. The healing comes after the heartbreak. But many people give up emotionally just moments before the ease arrives. There is also a philosophical depth here worth reflecting on. Ease does not always mean the removal of difficulty. Sometimes it means the strengthening of the person going through it. Sometimes the situation remains challenging, but you become calmer, wiser, more emotionally grounded. That itself is a form of relief. That itself is divine mercy unfolding quietly. The key is to resist the illusion of permanence. Your current struggle is a chapter, not the entire story. When you remind yourself of this consistently, your response to hardship becomes more measured, more dignified, more spiritually intelligent. So when you feel surrounded by pressure, do not let your heart whisper, "This will never end." Train it instead to say, with calm conviction, "Ease is already on its way. I just need the patience to meet it." There is a quiet power that develops inside a person who chooses patience consistently. It is not loud, and it is not always immediately visible, but over time it becomes one of the strongest forms of inner strength a human being can possess. Patience is not merely about waiting, it is about how you carry yourself while you wait. It is about emotional discipline under pressure. From a psychological perspective, every time you resist the urge to react impulsively, you are literally strengthening your self-control. Modern behavioral science confirms what spiritual wisdom has taught for centuries. The ability to delay reaction and regulate emotion is directly linked to long-term success and stability. When patience becomes a habit, your nervous system learns calm instead of chaos. Your mind learns clarity instead of panic. Think about the people who crumble under pressure versus those who remain composed. Often, the difference is not intelligence, wealth, or opportunity. It is regulation. It is the trained ability to pause before responding. Patience builds this pause. And in that pause lies power, the power to choose wisdom over impulse, dignity over regret. Philosophically, patience transforms suffering into training. Without patience, hardship feels like pure loss. But with patience, hardship becomes resistance, and resistance is what builds strength. Just as muscles grow through controlled strain, the human character grows through endured difficulty. The believer who understands this stops asking, "Why is this so hard?" and begins asking, "What strength is this moment building within me?" There is also a profound emotional maturity that comes with patience. You begin to notice that not every battle requires your reaction. Not every provocation deserves your energy. Not every delay is a denial. This awareness protects your peace. It preserves your focus. It allows you to move through life with quiet confidence rather than constant agitation. Over time, patient people become harder to shake. Their calm is not accidental. It is constructed through repeated moments of restraint and trust. And that is the beautiful secret. Patience does not just help you survive difficult moments. It reshapes you into someone who is stronger than the difficulty itself. So the next time you feel the urge to react instantly, pause and remember, every moment of patience is building a version of you that future challenges will not be able to break. One of the most reassuring truths about patience is that it never goes unnoticed. In human interactions, you may endure quietly and receive no acknowledgement. You may hold your tongue, control your emotions, and maintain dignity, yet the world around you may not applaud your restraint. But divine justice operates on a completely different scale. The reward of patience is not dependent on public recognition. It is guaranteed by the one who sees what others miss. This understanding changes the psychology of endurance. Many people lose patience because they feel their struggle is meaningless or invisible. The human ego naturally seeks validation, some sign that the effort is worth it. But when the believer internalizes that Allah records every moment of sincere patience, the motivation shifts from external approval to internal conviction. You are no longer performing patience, you are living it with purpose. There is also a deep philosophical wisdom here. Not all rewards are immediate, and not all rewards are material. Sometimes the first reward of patience is internal, a calm heart, clearer thinking, emotional stability. Sometimes the reward appears later in life, in ways you could not have predicted. And sometimes, the greatest portion of the reward is reserved for the hereafter, where divine justice is perfectly and completely manifested. Consider how often impatience leads to regret, a harsh word spoken in anger, a decision made in frustration, a relationship damaged in a moment of emotional overflow. Patience protects you from these costly mistakes. In that sense, part of its reward is preventative. It saves you from consequences you may never even realize you avoided. At the same time, patience attracts divine assistance. When a person consistently chooses restraint over reaction and trust over panic, doors begin to open in subtle ways. Opportunities appear, hearts soften, paths become clearer. This is not coincidence. It is the quiet unfolding of promised reward. So never underestimate the value of the patience you practice in private moments. What feels unseen to you is fully accounted for by Allah. Every restrained reaction, every controlled emotion, every moment you chose dignity over impulse is being preserved. Hold firmly to this certainty. Patience is never wasted. it is always being prepared for a beautiful return. There is a moment, often very brief, between what happens to us and how we respond to it. Most people never notice this moment. They move from stimulus to reaction almost automatically. A harsh comment comes, and the reply is immediate. A delay occurs, and frustration rises instantly. But the patient person treats that small space with great respect, because within it lies the ability to change outcomes entirely. From a psychological standpoint, impulsive reactions are usually emotion-driven and short-sighted. They are designed for immediate relief, not long-term wisdom. When the nervous system is activated under stress, the brain seeks speed, not accuracy. This is why so many people look back at heated moments in their lives and quietly wish they had responded differently. Patience interrupts this automatic chain. It gives the higher mind time to engage. It allows emotion to settle just enough for wisdom to enter the conversation. You begin to notice something remarkable when you practice this consistently. Situations that once escalated quickly start to diffuse. Conflicts that could have grown larger quietly dissolve. Even in personal struggles, the mind becomes clearer when it is not reacting in panic. This is not weakness. This is strategic emotional intelligence. Philosophically, patience restores your authorship over your own behavior. Without it, other people's actions constantly control your emotional state. Someone provokes you, and suddenly they are directing your words, your tone, even your peace of mind. But when patience becomes part of your character, you reclaim that control. You decide when to speak. You decide how to respond. You decide what deserves your energy and what does not. There is also a dignity that emerges from calm responses. People may forget your arguments, but they rarely forget your composure. Over time, patient individuals build a quiet authority around them. Their words carry more weight because they are not spoken recklessly. Their presence brings stability because it is not easily shaken. And perhaps most importantly, patience protects your future. Many of life's biggest regrets are born in moments of uncontrolled reaction. When you slow down your response, you dramatically reduce the number of decisions you will later wish you could undo. So, the next time emotion rises quickly within you, remember this simple but powerful truth. The moment you pause is the moment you take your power back. When you study the pattern of human experience carefully, one reality becomes difficult to ignore. Beautiful endings often belong to those who refuse to give up too early. Patience is rarely dramatic in the moment. It feels slow. It feels quiet. Sometimes it even feels unrewarded. But time has a way of revealing what impatience can never see in the present. Many people abandon their efforts at the point where progress is actually closest. Psychologically, this happens because the human mind is uncomfortable with prolonged uncertainty. When results are delayed, motivation weakens. Doubt begins to whisper, but the patient person understands something deeper. The timeline of growth is rarely visible while you are inside it. Seeds do not break the soil the day they are planted, yet the process beneath the surface is already in motion. There is also a philosophical beauty to delayed outcomes. When something comes to you immediately, its value is often shallow and short-lived. But what arrives after patience, after endurance, after emotional discipline, that carries weight. That transforms you. The journey itself prepares you to appreciate what is coming. Without patience, many blessings would arrive before we are mature enough to handle them. Reflect on your own life for a moment. Some of the things you once worried deeply about eventually resolved in ways you could not have predicted. Some closed doors redirected you toward better paths. Some delays protected you from choices that would have brought regret. With hindsight, the wisdom becomes clearer. Patience was not empty waiting, it was quiet positioning. The believer who internalizes this begins to move through life differently. Instead of demanding immediate results, they focus on consistent effort and steady trust. Instead of measuring progress only by speed, they measure it by direction. This mindset creates resilience that outlasts temporary setbacks. And here is the profound truth: beautiful endings are rarely accidents. They are often the final chapter of sustained patience, repeated trust, and controlled response through moments that once felt unbearable. So if you find yourself in a chapter that feels slow or uncertain, do not rush to close the book. Stay steady. Stay faithful. Because very often, the most beautiful parts of your story are still quietly on their way to you.